Okay, so just so you're aware, this training session will be recorded and made available to staff and students. Your comments, questions, both verbal and text-based, and likenesses, if using a webcam, may be included in the recording. So thanks for coming this afternoon to the Daily Digital Micro Webinar. Today we're going to be looking at positioning images with wraparound in Microsoft Word. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my Word screen. So hopefully you guys can all see that okay. There we go. Okay. So when positioning images in Word, first of all, of course, you're going to need a document to place the image into. So that's what I've got here. Just an example document with some just generic text. And these are the links to the images that I'm going to be using. They're all downloaded for free from pexels.com. So it's a free licensing website for stock photography that's free to use. So an excellent resource in this case. So let's insert a picture to begin with. So when we're inserting an image, wherever you've got your cursor based on screen, that's where you'll find the image will be placed. So let's put an image right here. Got the cursor flashing away there. So we've got to go to Insert. And then we've got Pictures up here. This will open up a new window, which I'm not sure if you guys can see, but it's just the Insert Picture window. So I'm going to insert a generic image I've got saved ready. And when the image is imported in, you'll see you've got it here taking up most of the screen. And at this point, when you first insert an image, it's just in line with the text. So if I was to make this image smaller by dragging the handles on the end here, you'll see that this image is just butts onto the text exactly. And if I put this image, inserted it elsewhere, for example, in the middle of a paragraph, like down here, for example, you'll see that it splits the paragraph, but it's just essentially part of the running of that paragraph. So we can adjust the running around of the text here by using the layout options, which is a pop-up menu on the side of the image. So the layout options, as you can see, as a default, we've got in line with text. So a really basic idea for a quick wraparound is using the square option. So if I click on that, then that will run the text around the image, just around the image borders. So it's real straightforward, but when you move the image now, you'll see that it adjusts the paragraph to match. So it literally is just running that text around the image. Another option you've got, which is maybe a little bit better for emphasis, would be to use the top and bottom options. So if I click on top and bottom, the text will still run around the image, but it will no longer display any text to the left or the right of that specific image. So if I put this anywhere here, you can see that it is running around the text, but the text isn't actually either side. So that's quite a nice option if you want to emphasize an image, and especially if you've got like a larger sort of widescreen kind of image as well, that'll work better for emphasizing that. But then other options you've got available for you, which wouldn't be completely of use, but maybe of use in certain situations. You've got the behind text. So if I put this text here, sorry, if I put this image here behind the text, you can see you've got the text now uninterrupted and it's now just on top of the image. So this can be useful if you were to have a really light image or adjust the transparency of the image. You could, in essence, make like a background image for a specific paragraph or even for an entire page using this method. Or you've also got the in front of text image, which just puts the image right on top of the text. It blocks out the text completely. There's no running around. So you wouldn't really use this a great deal in any kind of presentations. This might be useful for putting like confidential or draft over your images, over your layout. But there are specific options in Word for that anyway that don't involve placing images. So there wouldn't really be a need to use this for that. So these two options, not particularly useful in my opinion. Then the other two main options we've got are the through and tight options here. So these are the most useful, especially if you've got images that aren't very regular. So for an example here, let me import another image. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to put my cursor there. I'm going to insert a specific image. In this case, we'll use this chess pieces image. Oh, that's not the one I've got prepared. Let me try that again. Here we go. So I've got this quite a large image of these chess pieces. I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller so you can see. And as before, you can see it's now been inserted as part of this paragraph, so it's just there. But if I go to the layout options here and mark this as tight, Word will automatically use the built-in transparency of the image and run the text around it. Now, this works with this particular image because this is a transparent PNG image and it already has transparency built into it. So Word will work with that automatically. If we put in an image that doesn't have transparency built into it, so for example, I've got this image here, just a silhouette of a boy on a park bench. As you can see, there's lots of white areas in the image. And if I set this to tight or through, either one of these will do pretty much the same thing. You can see it's not actually using that white space area there. So with images where you don't have transparency, but you want to run text through them, you'd need to go to your picture formatting tools and then use the remove background option. And then you can use the mark areas to keep or mark areas to remove. And you can literally draw on the image itself to denote which areas you want to actually take out. So I'm just going to do this quite roughly. You can see here it's not a precise kind of tool very much. So I'd advise definitely doing this maybe in Photoshop or another image editor that can actually do transparency quite more efficiently than Word does. But this will give you a rough indication. So I've put some of this image back in here. And if I click on Keep Changes, now you can see where Word has kept the bits I want to keep. It's blocking the actual text out. And where I've removed parts of the image, Word is now treating that as transparent, and it will move the text accordingly. If you've got transparent images where there are bits inside the image that are transparent, depending on how large those gaps are, you can use the through option, and that will put words into the gaps in the image as well. This particular image doesn't have those large areas, so it's hard to demonstrate it. But for most of your purposes, just using the tight option will work well. And then one last thing I wanted to show you to make sure you know you've got your images where you want them. When you've got an image that's not in line with text, but is using text wrapping, you'll oftentimes see this little anchor icon here on the left-hand side of the image. That anchor basically tells you what paragraph that image is aligned to or locked to. So for example, here, if I put this image on, say, the right-hand side of the screen, the anchor stays there. So that anchor tells me that this image is locked to the start of this paragraph here. And if I was to move this paragraph down or move it up, whatever I want to do with it, the image will move with it. If I then click on the image and I move the anchor to a different paragraph, so for example, if I move the anchor to the start of this paragraph up here, I can now come back down to this paragraph here. And if I move this now, the paragraph moves, but the image doesn't. So you're locking the image in place. And you've got some specific locking options as well. If you were to go to the layout options, and then you can fix the position on the page down here, or you can use the see more options and you've got an entire layout menu where you can specify the image size, you can specify the absolute position, and you can even lock the anchor point as well. So there's plenty of other options you've got for moving images around or keeping them specifically locked in place.